Good evening. Welcome to this quiet hour. If you are listening to this, your day is probably coming to an end. Your body is getting ready to rest. Tonight, we are going to walk slowly through the science of sleep. We will explore what your brain is doing while you lie in the dark. There is no rush here. No need to remember every detail. The words can move through your mind like a gentle stream, and you can simply let them carry you toward rest. As you settle in, perhaps already lying down, perhaps letting your shoulders soften, the brain behind your eyes is slowly preparing to enter one of its most important states, sleep. To the outside world, sleep can look like nothing is happening. The body is still. The eyes are closed. The muscles rest. But inside the skull, something very different is unfolding. The brain does not simply turn off. It changes mode, shifting from the bright, noisy traffic of daytime thought into a softer, deeper, more rhythmic kind of activity. Tonight, the story is about that hidden world, about what your brain does while you sleep, about why nature insists, across almost every species, that time must be set aside to unplug from the outer world and drift inward. There is nothing to memorize here, no need to focus sharply. You can let the words pass by like quiet clouds, knowing that your mind will absorb as much or as little as it wishes. As you listen, you might notice your breathing slowing, your attention turning gently inward, the details of the day moving a little further away, like a shoreline seen from a boat, drifting from the harbor. And while you rest, we will follow the brain through the evening into the first drowsy waves of sleep, down into its deepest rhythms, and into the strange, yet meaningful, world of dreams. Long before you decided to listen to this, long before you even thought about sleep tonight, a quiet clock in your brain has been keeping track of the day. High, deep in the center of the brain, above where the nerves from your eyes cross, sits a tiny cluster of neurons, only about the size of a grain of rice. This is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the body's master clock. From the moment morning light touched your eyes, these clock cells have been adjusting their rhythm, synchronizing your internal time with the turning of the earth. They fire in gentle daily patterns, rising and falling over roughly 24 hours, sending signals to the rest of the body, telling it when to be alert and when to grow quiet. As the sun moved across the sky today and then began to sink, your internal clock noticed the fading light. The signals from the eyes softened, and the clock began to send out a different message. It whispered to the brain and body that night was coming. In response, another small structure, deeper in the brain, the pineal gland, started to release a hormone into your bloodstream, melatonin. Melatonin is not a sleeping pill produced by the brain. It does not knock you out. Instead, it is more like a gentle dimmer switch, a signal that says, now it is biological night. It is time to prepare, to move toward rest. As melatonin levels rise, your body temperature drops slightly, your blood pressure eases, your metabolism slows, and the cortex, the wrinkled outer layer of the brain that handles thought, begins to unwind. You might experience this as the feeling that your thoughts are a little slower, less sharp, that the urgency of daytime concerns softens around the edges. This is the first part of the story of sleep, not something you do deliberately, but something your brain and body do for you every evening. Gently turning down the lights inside. As evening moves toward night, the brain shifts its balance of chemicals. During the day, neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and dopamine help keep you alert, attentive, ready to respond. Their levels are higher, and networks across the brain stay tightly connected, ready to jump from task to task, from thought to thought. But as bedtime approaches, those alerting signals begin to subside. Other chemicals, like GABA, rise in certain areas, quieting activity in the cortex, especially in the frontal lobes, the regions just behind your forehead that handle planning, decision-making, and control. You might notice this change as a softening of self-discipline. The part of you that says, just one more email, one more message, starts to lose energy. Other parts of the brain, parts that enjoy comfort and rest, begin to have a little more influence. If you imagine your brain as a city, daytime is like rush hour, traffic lights changing rapidly, people moving with purpose, messages flying between districts. Nightfall is different. The downtown offices go dark. The traffic thins. Some neighborhoods, like those dealing with emotions and memory, still glow softly with activity, while others grow quiet. This transition is not a sharp line. There is no single moment when the brain declares, "Now, sleep begins." Instead, there is a gradual gliding from wakefulness into drowsiness, into the first light stage of sleep. As you listen now, you may even feel yourself moving along that same slope, awake, but perhaps softer around the edges, thoughts drifting more slowly, mind wandering more freely. When you finally allow your eyes to close and your attention releases its hold on the outside world, the brain begins to shift into a different rhythm. The cortex, which during the day hums with fast, desynchronized activity, starts to produce slower waves. On an EEG recording, which measures the electrical patterns of the brain, this first stage of sleep, called N1, looks like a gentle slowing, alpha waves from relaxed wakefulness, giving way to even slower theta waves. You may have felt this stage many times. It is that drifting moment when thoughts turn into images, when the boundary between inside and outside grows thin. Perhaps you have experienced the sensation of suddenly jerking awake, as if you were falling. Those are hypnic jerks, brief muscle contractions, as the brain is still balancing between holding on to wakefulness and letting go. In this first light stage, the brain is like a boat just leaving the harbor, still close enough to see the shore, still feeling the pull of land, but beginning to float on quieter waters. If someone calls your name in this stage, you might still respond. You are not fully gone from the waking world, but the journey has begun. As sleep continues, the brain travels further from the coastline of wakefulness into stage N2, a deeper, more stable form of non-REM sleep, On the electrical map, new patterns appear. Short bursts called sleep spindles and brief, high-voltage waves called K-complexes. Sleep spindles are like quick flurries of activity, lasting a second or two. They look like the brain is briefly speeding up before settling again. Researchers believe these spindles help shield the brain from noise, from sudden sounds, or changes in the environment, so that sleep is not interrupted too easily. The K-complexes, those large waves, act a little like guardians at the gate. When a noise or touch reaches the brain, a K-complex may appear, a sign that the brain has noticed something and is deciding whether to wake up or to remain in sleep. During this stage, your muscles relax even more. Eye movements slow, the heart rate and breathing become smoother, more regular. If N1 is like slipping away from the shore, N2 is like moving farther out into the bay. The shore is still there, but it is softer, less distinct. The boat of the mind rocks gently, held by the quiet water. Most of the night, you are actually in this stage. N2 sleep makes up about half of total sleep time. It is the everyday workhorse of the night, quiet, unremarkable, yet essential. From N2, the brain sometimes descends further into the deepest non-REM stage. N3, also called slow-wave sleep. Here, the EEG patterns transform again. Large, slow waves dominate, rising and falling less than 4 times a second. These are delta waves. They show that huge populations of neurons are firing together, then resting together in a kind of slow, synchronized breathing. In this state, it is hardest to wake you. If someone calls your name, you might not stir. If you are woken suddenly, you may feel heavy, confused, pulled abruptly from great depth. This deep sleep is especially abundant in the first part of the night. It is here that some of the brain's most important maintenance work takes place. Imagine a busy workshop, after hours. The machines have been turned off. Workers move slowly through the space, cleaning, repairing, checking the systems. During slow-wave sleep, the brain reduces its overall energy use, but uses that quieter time to restore what has been worn, to strengthen what needs to last, and to prune away what is no longer needed. One of the most important tasks of sleep is the handling of memory. All day long, your brain has been recording small fragments of experience. The hippocampus, a curved structure deep in the temporal lobes, acts a little like a temporary storage space, a notebook where the events of the day are roughly sketched. It cannot store everything forever. Its capacity is limited. So at night, especially during slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus begins to replay some of those patterns of activity, sending them outward to the cortex. The cortex, with its vast networks, can hold information much longer. But to do so, it must be taught. It must be shown which patterns are worth keeping. During deep sleep, tiny bursts of coordinated activity race from hippocampus to cortex, like quiet Morse code in the night. Neurons that were active together during the day are reactivated in similar sequences, laying down more stable pathways. If you learned something new today, a fact, a skill, even an emotional lesson, Your sleeping brain is now sorting and organizing it, deciding how it fits with what you already know and whether it needs to be stored or can be forgotten. This process is called consolidation. It is why a good night's sleep often makes memories clearer and skills smoother. From the outside, you might appear to be doing nothing, just lying there. But within your skull, whole landscapes of neural connections are being gently reshaped. Some synapses, the contact points between neurons, are strengthened, their responsiveness increased. Others are quietly weakened, making room for new learning tomorrow. In this way, each night's sleep helps transform the raw material of experience into the woven fabric of your personal story. There is another side to this nocturnal editing. During the day, as you encounter new information, many synapses become a little stronger. They release more neurotransmitter, grow more receptors, become more easily activated. If this strengthening continued without pause, the brain would quickly become saturated. Too many connections, too strong, too much noise, too much energy required. Sleep offers a solution. During slow-wave sleep, overall synaptic strength across the cortex is gently scaled back, a process sometimes called synaptic downscaling. It is as if the volume knobs on millions of connections are turned down just a little. But the connections that were most active, that were used repeatedly and meaningfully during the day, remain proportionally stronger, even after everything is reduced. The result is that important memories and skills stand out against a quieter background, like mountains still visible after the water level of a lake has been lowered. This quiet pruning helps keep the brain flexible, ready to learn again. Sleep is not merely rest. It is an active rebalancing, a nightly reset that prepares you for tomorrow's experiences. Beyond memory and connections, sleep also supports the brain in a more physical way. Neurons are busy cells. As they work during the day, they produce waste products, small molecules that must be cleared away so they do not accumulate. Elsewhere in the body, the lymphatic system helps with this cleaning. In the brain, a similar but distinct system, called the glymphatic system, plays a key role, and it is especially active during sleep. Between neurons, there is a delicate space filled with cerebrospinal fluid, a clear liquid that cushions and bathes the brain. During deep sleep, the supporting cells around neurons shrink slightly, expanding these spaces. More fluid can then flow through, carrying away waste products like beta amyloid and other metabolites. Like a nighttime tide, this fluid washes through the brain tissue, rinsing, clearing, preparing the environment for another day of thought. You do not feel this cleaning. It happens silently, without dreams, without any sense of effort, yet it is essential for long-term brain health. As you sleep, your brain not only organizes your experiences, but also cares for its own cells, maintaining the delicate environment that allows inner life to unfold. After some time spent in deep, slow-wave sleep, the brain begins to climb back upward, through N2, toward a very different state. Eye movements, which had been slow or absent, suddenly become rapid, darting beneath closed lids. The EEG, which had shown slow, high-amplitude waves, shifts into a pattern that looks surprisingly like wakefulness, fast and desynchronized. This is REM sleep, named for those rapid eye movements. It is sometimes called paradoxical sleep because the brain appears active, almost as if awake, while the body is deeply relaxed and largely unable to move. A special network in the brainstem sends inhibitory signals down the spinal cord, turning off most of the muscles of the body so that we do not act out our dreams. Only the eyes and the small muscles involved in breathing remain active. During REM, certain regions of the brain light up with activity. Visual areas, deep emotional centers like the amygdala, and parts of the limbic system grow more active. Meanwhile, areas in the frontal lobes, especially those involved in logical reasoning and self-control, become less active. The result is a state where images can flow freely, unconstrained by physical reality, and uncritically accepted. This is the landscape of dreams. In REM sleep, the brain becomes a quiet theater with no audience, only the stage. Fragments of memory, recent and distant, floating emotions, concerns and wishes are woven together into stories. Most dreams are not remembered. They appear, play briefly, and dissolve. Yet while they are happening, they feel real. The same visual areas that process the outside world are active as if receiving actual light. Even though the eyes are closed, the inner screen is bright. Why the brain dreams is still a question without a single, final answer. But several possibilities are supported by research. One idea is that dreams help with emotional processing. During REM, the brain can reactivate memories, especially those with emotional weight, but replay them in a chemically different environment. Stress chemicals like norepinephrine are greatly reduced in REM sleep, so the brain may be able to revisit painful or complex experiences in a safer context, softening their emotional charge, integrating them into the broader story of your life. Another idea is that dreams allow the brain to rehearse scenarios of danger, social interactions, creative solutions can be simulated without risk, letting the neural circuits experiment and prepare. Whether or not every detail of these theories is correct, it seems clear that REM sleep and the dreams that accompany it are not random noise. They are part of the nightly work of maintaining a flexible, emotionally balanced, and imaginatively capable mind. As you sleep, your brain not only cleans and organizes, but also plays, exploring possibilities, rearranging pieces of reality into new shapes. Sleep is not a single, uniform state. It is a journey through repeating cycles, from the first drowsy N1, down into N2, then into deep, slow wave N3, and up again into REM. The brain moves in a roughly 90-minute rhythm. Over the course of the night, this cycle repeats 3, 4, 5 times, sometimes more, but the balance changes. In the first cycles, early in the night, deep, slow wave sleep is most prominent. Later, toward the early morning hours, REM sleep takes more of the time, with long, rich dreaming periods. It is as if The brain schedules its night work, heavy maintenance first, clearing space, consolidating fresh memories. Then, later, when much of the physical and structural work is done, it turns more fully to emotional processing and creative integration, allowing longer stretches of dreaming. From the outside, you may simply feel that one part of the night is deeper and that near morning, your dreams become more vivid and more likely to be remembered. But within, the architecture of sleep is a carefully timed and coordinated program run by the brain's internal clocks and chemical signals. Each stage has its purpose. Each cycle contributes something to the health of the mind and of the body. Even when you are deeply asleep and not engaged with the outside world, the brain is far from idle. Networks that are active during daydreaming and reflection, the default mode network, continue their gentle activity at night. They link regions involved in self-related thought, autobiographical memory, and imagining the future. During sleep, these networks likely support the integration of new memories into the story of the self. Events from the day are connected with older experiences. Patterns and themes are updated. The sense of who you are subtly evolves. Other networks, involved in controlling attention and sensory processing, take on different roles. The thalamus, a kind of relay station for sensory information, reduces its forwarding of outside signals, closing the gates, so the cortex can focus inward. Yet, if something important happens, a loud noise, a touch, the call of your name, the brain can quickly shift back toward wakefulness. Sleep is a protected state, but not a completely sealed one. All through the night, there is a quiet negotiation between the need to rest and the need to remain just awake enough to respond to danger. You might think of the brain at night as a lighthouse whose bright beam of conscious awareness is mostly dimmed, while smaller, inner lamps remain lit, keeping watch, maintaining the structure of the mind and of the body it guides. Sleep is deeply tied to emotional life. When sleep is cut short or repeatedly disturbed, the emotional centers of the brain, especially the amygdala, become more reactive. Studies show that after a night of poor sleep, the amygdala can respond more strongly to negative images, while the frontal regions that usually help regulate emotions are less connected. In everyday experience, this might feel like being more easily irritated, more anxious, more sensitive, less patient. By contrast, after good sleep, the brain is better able to balance reactions, to place events in context, and to recover from stress. Part of this may be due to the way REM sleep revisits emotional memories under calmer chemical conditions, helping to gradually diffuse them. It is as though, each night, the brain gently smooths the sharp edges of recent experiences, so they do not cut as deeply the next day. Over many nights, this process contributes to emotional resilience, the capacity to feel without being overwhelmed, to remember without getting stuck. So when you sleep, you are not only resting your muscles and consolidating facts, you are also giving your emotional brain time to heal, and to restore its balance. If you have ever gone to bed frustrated with a problem, only to wake with a clearer sense of the solution, you have felt another gift of sleep. During the night, the brain replays and recombines information in ways that can lead to insight. Memories that were stored separately may be linked. Patterns that were not obvious in the noise of waking life may become clearer in the relative silence of sleep. Different kinds of learning depend on different aspects of sleep. Facts and verbal information often benefit most from deep non-REM sleep, especially early in the night. Skills involving movement, like playing an instrument or a sport, can improve after both non-REM and REM periods, as the brain refines the timing and coordination of motor circuits. Conceptual insights, creative associations, can blossom after dreams when the brain has been free to experiment with new combinations. So when you allow yourself a full night of sleep, you are not taking time away from learning. You are completing it, letting your brain perform the second half of the work that waking experience began. Because much of this work is hidden, it can be easy to underestimate sleep. Modern life, with its bright screens, late-night activity, and constant access to information, often encourages the idea that sleep is optional, something to be trimmed, to make room for more doing. But inside the brain, the cost of chronic sleep loss slowly adds up. Without enough deep sleep, memory consolidation suffers, new learning becomes less reliable, and older memories may become harder to access. Without enough REM, emotional processing is compromised, mood can become unstable, and the capacity to handle stress declines. On the physical side, hormonal balance shifts, appetite regulation is altered, the immune system weakens, cardiovascular risk increases. The brain and body can cope for a while, drawing on reserves, but over time, the lack of full nightly maintenance makes everything a little harder. Recognizing this is not a reason to feel guilty about nights when sleep has been short. Life sometimes demands it. Instead, it can be a gentle reminder that giving yourself time to sleep is not a luxury, but a quiet act of support for your own brain. The brain's natural rhythms are shaped by both biology and environment. Light is one of the strongest cues. Bright light in the evening, especially the cool light of screens, can signal to the internal clock that it is still day, delaying melatonin release and pushing back the onset of sleep. On the other hand, dim, warm light and a gradual winding down of stimulating activity gives the clock a clearer message. That night has arrived. Regularity also matters. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time each day helps the brain predict when it should begin preparing for sleep. None of this needs to be forced. There is no need to strive or struggle. The brain actually knows how to sleep on its own. These choices about light, timing, and stimulation simply make its job easier. When you create a gentle buffer between the busy outer world and the quieter inner world of night, you are, in a sense, clearing a path for the brain to follow. That path might include turning down lights, stepping away from urgent messages, allowing the body to feel that the day is truly ending. As those signals reach the brain, the clock cells adjust. The melatonin rises. The shifting chemistry begins its work, and sleep, which has been waiting patiently at the edge, can step forward. In the early stages of sleep, the brain begins a kind of sorting. It sifts through the impressions of the day, the faces, the conversations, the small moments, deciding what to hold and what to release. Some memories will be strengthened, pulled deeper into the web of what you know. Others will fade, gently erased to make room for tomorrow. This is not random. The brain has ways of recognizing what matters. Emotional intensity is one signal. Repetition is another. Surprise, novelty, relevance, all help guide the sorting process. So if something moved you today, if it made you laugh, or pause, or wonder, your brain is more likely to give it space in the night's work. If something was routine, familiar, unremarkable, it may simply dissolve, leaving no trace. This is part of how sleep protects you from being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of daily input. The brain does not try to keep everything. It keeps what seems useful or meaningful and quietly lets the rest go. In a way, sleep is a form of forgetting, just as much as it is a form of remembering. Both are necessary. Both are acts of care, performed by a brain that knows, in some deep way, what you need to move forward. As the night deepens and the cycles continue, the brain's work shifts in rhythm. Early cycles focus on the slow waves, the heavy lifting of consolidation, the clearing of metabolic debris, the scaling back of synaptic noise. Later cycles bring more REM, more dreaming, more emotional integration. It is as if the brain says, first, we tidy the workshop. Then, we sit with the day's feelings and see what they mean. Dreams can be strange, illogical, even unsettling. But their strangeness is not a flaw. It is a feature. In dreams, the usual rules are suspended. Things that would never occur together in waking life can blend and merge. A childhood home, a recent conversation, a long-dead relative, a place you have never been, all can appear in the same scene. This free mixing may allow the brain to find connections that logic alone would miss. Some researchers believe that dreaming is a kind of overnight therapy, a way for the brain to work through emotions without the constraints of waking self-consciousness. In REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex, the part of you that monitors and judges, is quieter. So feelings can be experienced and processed without resistance, without the usual defenses. This may be why, after a night of dreaming, difficult emotions sometimes feel a little softer, a little more bearable. The brain has taken them into the night, turned them over, placed them in new contexts, and in doing so, has begun the work of healing. Throughout the night, hormones rise and fall in careful patterns. Growth hormone, which supports tissue repair, is released in pulses during deep sleep. Cortisol, which helps you wake and respond to the day, begins to rise in the early morning hours, even before you open your eyes. Leptin and ghrelin, hormones that regulate hunger and fullness, are also influenced by sleep. When sleep is too short, Ghrelin rises, making you feel hungrier, and leptin falls, making it harder to feel satisfied. This is one reason why, after a poor night's sleep, you might find yourself reaching for extra food, especially carbohydrates and sweets. Your brain is looking for quick energy to compensate for the fatigue it feels. The immune system, too, is deeply connected to sleep. During the night, certain immune cells become more active, surveying the body, responding to threats, building memory of past infections. Sleep strengthens the immune response and helps the body resist illness. When you are sick, you often feel the need to sleep more. This is not weakness, it is the body's wisdom. Sleep is part of healing. It gives the immune system the time and resources it needs to do its work. All of this happens while you lie still, while you dream, while you rest. The body and brain working together in quiet coordination to maintain the life they share. In children and adolescents, sleep plays an especially important role. The brain is still developing, still forming new connections, still pruning away what is not needed. Deep sleep supports the growth of neural pathways, the strengthening of skills, the consolidation of learning. In teenagers, the internal clock often shifts, making them naturally inclined to stay up later and wake later. This is not laziness, it is biology. The circadian rhythm changes during puberty and requires a different schedule to provide the sleep the developing brain needs. When schools start early and teens are forced to wake before their biology is ready, they lose sleep, and with it, some of the support their brains need to grow, to learn, and to regulate emotions. Understanding this can help us see sleep not as a luxury or a personal choice, but as a developmental necessity that shifts across the lifespan. In older adults, sleep often becomes lighter, more fragmented. Deep, slow-wave sleep may decrease, and awakenings during the night become more common. This is a normal part of aging, though it can be frustrating. The brain's internal clock may also shift earlier, leading to earlier bedtimes and earlier wake times. Even with these changes, sleep remains important. The brain still needs time to consolidate memory, to clear waste, to process emotion. Older adults who maintain good sleep tend to have better cognitive function, better mood, and better overall health. So while the structure of sleep may change, its value does not diminish. At every age, sleep is one of the foundations on which health and well-being are built. There are times when sleep is disrupted by worry, by pain, by the demands of life, insomnia, the difficulty falling or staying asleep is a common experience. It can feel frustrating, isolating, sometimes even frightening. When the brain cannot easily slip into sleep, it may be because the systems that promote wakefulness are still too active, or because the signals that promote sleep are not strong enough. This imbalance can be influenced by many things: stress, irregular schedules, light exposure, worry about sleep itself. Sometimes, the harder you try to sleep, the more elusive it becomes. This is because the effort itself, the focus, the vigilance, activates the very systems that need to quiet down. Sleep cannot be forced. It can only be invited. The brain must feel safe enough and calm enough to let go. When sleep is difficult, the goal is not to fight, but to gently create conditions that allow sleep to return. Regularity of schedule, reduction of stimulation before bed, a quiet, comfortable environment, and, perhaps most importantly, a release of the pressure to sleep perfectly can all help. Sleep does not have to be perfect to be restorative. Even a night of lighter, more fragmented sleep still offers the brain some time to rest, to sort, to heal. Some people find comfort in listening to gentle sounds or soft voices as they prepare for sleep. The rhythm of words, spoken slowly, can act as a kind of anchor, helping the mind release its grip on the day's concerns. There is something soothing about a calm, unhurried voice that simply continues, without asking anything of you, without requiring response or action. It can create a sense of companionship without demand, a gentle presence that makes the transition into sleep feel less solitary. If you are listening now, you may already feel that your thoughts are slowing, that the words are becoming more like a soft hum than a string of meanings. This is natural. This is welcome. There is no need to follow every sentence, no need to remember, no need to stay alert. The voice will continue, whether you are listening closely or drifting or already half asleep. It will simply be here, a quiet thread, leading gently toward rest. As you lie in the dark, your body is already responding to the signals of night. Your muscles are softening, your breathing is slowing, your heart rate is settling into a gentler rhythm. The small movements you make, the shifting of weight, the adjustment of a pillow, are part of the body's natural preparation. Even if your mind still wanders, the body knows what to do. You do not have to tell your heart to slow. You do not have to instruct your muscles to relax. These things happen because your brain and body are designed for this, have done this thousands of times before. All you need to do is allow it. Trust that the process will unfold, as it always has, in its own time, in its own way. Sleep is not something you achieve. It is something that arrives when conditions are right. And when you stop standing in its way, it is like waiting for a bird to land. If you sit very still and very quietly, it may come. But if you reach for it, if you try to grab it, it will fly away. So instead of reaching, you can simply rest. Instead of trying, you can simply be. The night will hold you. Your brain will do its work. And sleep, when it is ready, will come. In the depths of the night, when you are far from waking, your brain moves through its cycles, like a tide moving through hidden channels, from deep, slow waves, up into dreams, back down into stillness, and up again. Each cycle is a kind of breath, a rhythm that has been practiced over millions of years of evolution. You are part of that ancient pattern, a continuation of something that began long before you were born and will continue long after. Every creature that sleeps participates in this rhythm. Birds tuck their heads beneath their wings. Dolphins rest one half of their brain at a time. Insects grow still in the cooling air. Even trees, in a sense, rest, slowing their processes when light fades. Sleep is woven into the fabric of life. It is not optional. It is not negotiable. It is one of the ways that living things care for themselves. And you, lying here now, are simply doing what all living things do, returning to stillness, returning to rest, returning to the quiet place where repair and renewal happen without effort. There is a kind of wisdom in the body's need for sleep. It reminds you that you are not a machine that cannot be run continuously without cost. You are a biological being with rhythms, with limits, with needs that must be honored. To sleep is to acknowledge those needs and to give yourself what you require to continue. In a world that often values constant productivity, constant availability, constant doing, sleep is a quiet rebellion. It is a time when you are unavailable, unreachable, unproductive in any conventional sense. And yet, it is one of the most productive things you can do for your brain, for your body, for your long-term well-being. By sleeping, you are investing in tomorrow. You are giving your future self the gift of a rested mind, clearer memory, steadier mood, and a body that has had time to heal and restore itself. As this long, slow journey through the night comes toward its gentle close, it may be that you have already drifted beyond the reach of these words. Perhaps you hear them only as distant sounds, like waves on a far shore. Perhaps you do not hear them at all and have already descended into your own quiet depths. If you are still listening, still aware, there is no need for concern. Sleep will come in its own time. The brain does not follow commands. It responds to conditions, and the conditions now are favorable. The light is low. The world is quiet. Your body is at rest. All the pieces are in place for the transition from waking into sleep. And whether that transition happens in the next moment or in the next hour, it will happen. It always does. In the meantime, you can simply lie here, breathing slowly, feeling the softness of the surface beneath you, feeling the weight of your body, held and supported. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, no problem you need to solve. Right now, in this moment, the day is done. The tasks are set aside. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. But for now, there is only this: the quiet, the stillness, the slow unwinding of a mind preparing to rest. Your brain knows how to do this. It has done it before, countless times. It will guide you through the stages, through the cycles, through the deep, and back to the surface when morning comes. You do not need to manage the process. You do not need to oversee it. You can simply let go. And as you let go, the brain begins its night work, quietly, patiently, without fanfare. Neurons fire in slow rhythms. Memories are sorted and stored. Emotions are softened and integrated. Waste is washed away. Connections are pruned and strengthened. All of this happening in the dark, while you rest, while you dream, while you float in the quiet space between waking and sleeping, between one day and the next. The night is long. There is time. There is space. There is nothing to hurry toward. The brain will take all the time it needs to do its work. And when morning comes, you will wake, perhaps not fully aware of all that happened while you slept, but you will feel it in the clarity of your thoughts, in the steadiness of your mood, in the sense that you are ready to meet the day. That readiness is the gift of sleep. It is what the brain has been preparing all through the night. So rest now. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts drift. Let the words fade into the background like distant music. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. The brain will do its work. The body will do its work. And you can simply rest. Sleep well.